All aboard! Hello, and a bit of a gripe, really, to be honest, and I went yesterday to view the Rail 200 exhibition called Inspiration at the East Lancs Railway, and let's be honest, it wasn't inspirational. Not at all. For people my age, if you look back to what they did for Rail 150, for the 150th anniversary, if you look back to what they did for that, there's no inspiration there. I'm sorry, it's brightly painted on the outside and looking a bit funky, and a couple of semi-interesting bits inside. But here's the real gripe. I didn't want to go on it, as it happens. I set off from my house and I got down to East Lancs Railway and I switched my camera on and I tried taking a photo of a little R4 shunter, I think it was, a diesel that they use for moving carriages around at the East Lancs. And really, I'm not blaming the East Lancs for this lot, but it was a farce, it was crap. I didn't go in the coach because I weren't interested in what they had in. The biggest interest for me would have been the old Westinghouse signal levers, and they'd have been quite interesting for anybody that hasn't been around railways before. They'd have been an interesting thing, but for me, ex-railway man, I went down, they had an old dear, bless, that were guarding the door. And to be honest, she was East Lancs staff, and you can't have a go because they're voluntary, and she were an old dear. And she didn't have much clue about what was going on. Which really, to be honest, they should have staff there. It shouldn't have been East Lancs staffing it. They should have had railway staff that were clued up and telling you everything. But another bugbear, it's meant to be interactive. Now, I'm an ex-railway worker. I used to work in signal boxes. Now, to a degree, I understand why they do it. But they had school kids there, so they didn't allow you to mix in, which, yeah, I can understand. But you've got responsible people there supervising that can watch what's happening, and you're in an exhibition area. Now, them kids are losing out on experienced railwaymen. Experience, basically, telling them what it was like in the old days, 1980s. Shit, I don't even view that as old. But, yeah, they're missing out on that, and I don't really get it. why they wouldn't have the out fellas there from the Railway Preservation Society and ex-railway men, and it's just... But to add insult to injury, it's celebrating the 200th anniversary from the Stockton to Darlington railway running. Now, one of the biggest insults, one of the lads told me, it's not even going into Darlington or around that area, so whatever. But my biggest bugbear, and it really pissed me off, is it's meant to be for inspiration, to inspire kids and make them want to go and work on the railways, put interest there and everything. And let's be honest, what are you interested in? Ask anybody that model railways, works on the railways. One of the key interests is the locomotives, whether they want to be drivers or signalmen and watch them go past, or working on platforms. A key interest, or freight terminals, wherever you work, a key interest of railways is locomotives. They were non-existent. They took them off to go and work, which is understandable, the revenue earning machines. But for what they do in them 2 locomotives, I'd have rostered them for the full tour to stay where they were. Because that's your inspiration for the railways. No kid ever got inspired by a carriage. Well, you might get some weird ones that would, but they don't get inspired by a carriage. So all in all, for the 200th anniversary, it's called Inspire, but I found it very uninspirational. A generator and, 4 carriages, 3 carriages. And one was a meet and greet room and the kids just there. And I was outside and there were meant to be kids in. And I couldn't hear any happiness outside. It was just quiet, so it weren't like when we were kids. Like you got excited and, hey, let's get stuck into this and stuff. It's just, I think it's a poor show. It looked abysmal. Especially when you look at what they did for Rail 150 in Merseyside. They had all rocket there. They had all the inspirational locomotives. They had modern diesels, old steamers. And they went through in a procession. And they had other events on and that. If that's all they can do to try and inspire kids to work on the railways, it's a poor show. It honestly is a poor show. Paints a few carriages up and tour them round and nah. Sorry, it's just not inspirational to me. Anyway, post what your feelings are underneath, and have you seen it? And what did you really think of it? Be honest. I think it's an absolutely abysmal show, but others may differ to me because it's getting rave reviews. But it certainly won't be amongst railwaymen or rail enthusiasts. It'll be amongst people that's never been, and I don't think it's that honest. Just post your views. Anyway, Tatty pie, people. Tatty pie.